everyone, and welcome to another edition of Pantry Clips. I'm Edna from the Nourish Develop Foundation, and today we're going to be working with leftovers. So I had some leftover rice pilaf. It's cold from the fridge, which is ideal for making fried rice. And so I'm going to make a meal out of the pilaf, some vegetables, and I happen to have some cooked salmon that was left over from a meal today. So I thought we would create a nice refreshed dish with those two items. Even if you were having it for lunch and then you had it for dinner, it would be a totally different item. So the great thing about fried rice, in the case of pilaf, there's already a little bit of veg in it. So this particular one, we had some green beans and peas. I've got a little selection of vegetables here. I've got some snap peas, some celery, some carrots, some white onions, as well as some green onions for finishing. But I want to start first by doing the egg for the fried rice. So I'm going to turn my burner on, and I'm going to let it heat up slowly. And I'm going to crack my 2 eggs into, I'm going to crack the 2 eggs into the bowl and whisk them quite well. Basically what I'm making is a flat omelet. I'm not going to season it or anything like that because I have perhaps a little salt and pepper, but I'm not going to put anything else in it because it's going to get mixed in with all the other soy sauce and those sorts of items that are going into the dish. I want to make sure the egg is nice and loose and fluid, so I'm going to use a little tiny bit of water just to make sure that it loosens up nicely. So my pan is hot. I'm going to put a little olive oil in the bottom. And swirl it around. And then I'm just going to drop the egg in. So I just want to let the egg cook until it's solid. It's low heat, just a little bit of salt and pepper that I have right there. I'm just going to let it cook until it's cooked all the way through, and then I'm going to remove it from the pan and set it aside for the moment. The great thing about fried rice is you can use anything you have on hand. So these are the vegetables that I had today. You can throw some spinach in, you could throw some kale in. It doesn't have to be authentic. We're just using, the key to it is that you have to have the cold rice to start with. Warm rice right out of the pot will not stir fry properly, it'll end up sticky. So you definitely don't want to use that. If you decide that you want to make fried rice and you boil the rice for it, spread it out on a baking sheet, pop it into the fridge, or in these cold days, because we're happen to be filming this in winter, I pop mine outside for a few minutes and it tends to cool down really quickly, and then you can use the rice for fried rice. So I'm just going to flip this, just because I want the egg to be thoroughly cooked, and we'll let it do for a moment on that side. And then while it's still in the pan, I'm going to start to roll it into crepe style. Oops. This is a really non-stick pan, so it's doing a very good job at not assisting me. And one more flip I'll do while I'm out here. We're going to take it out of the pan, flip it till it's rolled up all the way, and then we're just going to forget about it for a moment. So in this pan, I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil. And I'm going to add some onion, a little bit of carrot, some celery. Again, you can add whatever you would like. And I've got some snap peas. So I'm going to add a little of that as well. And let it saute until, I'm not looking to brown it, I'm just looking to really soften it. So while that's cooking, I'm going to get some of my other items ready. So I've got some fresh green onion, which is really nice for finishing the rice. So I'm using a knife to cut the green onion on an angle. And I will just tuck that aside for when we're finished. I happen to have some leftover salmon, as I mentioned, so I'm actually going to use salmon as my additional protein, additional to the egg, to help make it a complete meal. So I'm just breaking up the salmon nicely. It's pre-cooked. And I'm going to have that ready to add to my rice when it's warmed through. Okay. Wipe my hands a little bit. Stir that up. If my rice was just plain, I could easily have used some peas, some green beans, asparagus if you'd like. As I mentioned earlier, just about anything can go into fried rice. The flavorings are the things that you have to keep in the same sort of vein. And in this particular case, we're going to use some garlic and some ginger. So to this pan, these vegetables are softening up nicely. I'm going to add about a tablespoon and a half of ginger and about the same of garlic. And I want to move it around. I don't want the garlic to burn. I just want to warm it up so that the flavors are released nicely. And now it's time to add in my rice. I want to leave myself enough room. You notice I'm not using all the ingredients. I just had some chopped. You can make this per portion if you want to do for one or for two, depending on how much rice you've got left. I want to leave enough room in my pan for me to be able to move it around. We want to coat it with the garlic and the ginger and warm the rice through. One thing people don't know about rice, I'm surprised actually that it's such a little known fact, but it's one of the leading causes of food poisoning. Rice, when it's grown, has a bacteria that it's exposed to that does not go away with the drying process. And so what can happen when the rice is cooked, it can reactivate that bacteria, and if it's not stored properly, people can get quite sick from it. So the best thing to do is with your rice, when you have leftovers, very quickly bring it to room temperature, whether that be that you put it on a pan and you spread it out and let it cool off really quickly and then put it into the fridge. But don't leave it sitting on the counter for a long time. People think that rice is so safe, but it is really quite, it can be quite dangerous. So please take caution when storing it. So together with my flavors of ginger and garlic and the things that I'm going to, the finishing off with the green onions and the egg rolled up, the main flavor components to fried rice, I've got a little sesame oil, I've got some soy sauce. Please buy lower sodium soy sauce. And if you can, a brand name soy sauce is better. And I don't say that very often, but I say it with soy sauce because it's such a high sodium item. It's not very expensive to make, and some of the companies that make it on such mass will make it just pure salt. They'll make it so salty. So if you add low sodium soy sauce, you can always add a little bit more. You can always season it if you need to, but you can't take it away once it's there. So please be careful and purchase the best one that you can find. Kikkoman's one of those that's quite well known. And then we're going to use a little oyster sauce, which is a little bit of a thicker sauce, but it gives stir fry a lovely flavor. So I'm going to start putting those flavors in. So I need about, for this size pot or frying pan, I'm going to use about four tablespoons of soy sauce, about 2 tablespoons of oyster, you can measure it correctly, of course, and then a little bit of sesame oil. A little bit of sesame oil goes a long way. We want to distribute those sauces evenly over the rice. Sometimes when you get fried rice from a restaurant, the rice is so dark, and sometimes that's because they use a saltier soy sauce, which tends to be a little bit darker. This one's a little bit lighter, less sodium, but it still packs a big flavor punch. So we'll just let that continue to cook. At this stage, I'm going to add the salmon. Now, I just happen to have leftover salmon. You don't have to. You could use chicken, you could use pork, you could just add some mushrooms, you could add tofu, you could do whatever you'd like. But in this particular case, I had that as my protein. So I thought that would make a really nice addition to the fried rice and give it some extra flavor and some extra protein. So the fried egg that I did now has cooled down considerably, which is great. There's 2 ways you can do the fried egg. I prefer to do it this way because I don't, I like to add it and have the egg be separate. But a lot of people mix up their egg and then add it into their fried rice and just keep stir frying it, and it sort of coats the rice kernels and cooks onto the kernels. You can certainly do that, but I prefer to see it in strips. I find it makes it a little more colorful. Salmon out of there. So throw that in. And then we'll put in a fresh green onion. My rice is very nicely cooked. I'm going to turn off my burner. It smells delicious, it's really fragrant, it's going to have the lovely flavor of ginger, garlic, lovely soy sauce, oyster sauce. You could have this as if without the salmon, you could have it as a side. With the salmon, you could have it as your main. So I'm going to just go ahead and taste it and see what we've made here. Lovely. Like I said, the flavors of the ginger and the garlic are lovely. Really light soy sauce, which gives it a lovely salty flavor. If your pilaf was quite well seasoned to start, think about going a little bit less on your soy sauce. That's another reason why we use the low sodium one, to make sure that we don't oversalt, because you can't take it away, but you can always add it. Lovely midweek dinner if you had leftover rice on Monday and Wednesday, you wanted to turn it into something totally different. So I hope you'll give it a try. Add your own vegetables, whatever it is that you'd like to see in it, and don't be afraid of it. All right, so thank you very much for joining us. I hope you'll watch some of our other Pantry Clips videos, and see you again.